The Holloways moved in on a Saturday. The skies over North Georgia were that soft, buttered gray, low and cozy, like God's own duvet. When the moving truck rolled through the iron gates of Sycamore Hill Estates, birds trilled in the oaks like they were applauding. It was everything Olivia Holloway had prayed for. No, worked for. The house stood like a secret at the top of the long stone drive. 6,000 square feet of pale brick and black iron, with twin chimneys like sentinels watching the land. It sat on 4 acres of rolling green, and still somehow felt hidden. Safe. Like something earned. "Still don't feel real," said Marcus, her husband, sliding the Tesla into park with a smile so big it wrinkled his whole face. "You see this, Liv?" She was already out of the car, laughing. "I see it." He got out, walked around, wrapped his arms around her from behind. Their daughter, Anya, 13, stayed in the back seat with her headphones on, unimpressed. Their youngest, Isaiah, 6 and full of sugar, ran toward the front porch shouting, "It's huge! We could fit 2 families in here." "Lord, don't say that," Olivia muttered. "We only just got away from mine." Inside, the house was cathedral quiet. A grand staircase rose in a slow curve to the second floor. White oak floors glowed with polish. There were 6 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, a chef's kitchen with gold-veined marble, and a backyard built for generational barbecues. Olivia walked through the living room, letting her hand graze the soft velvet of the walls. Custom acoustic paneling, the realtor had said. Imported, keeps everything peaceful. She liked that word, peaceful. After growing up in a house where slammed doors ended every conversation and the sirens outside spoke louder than her parents, the silence here felt sacred. Still, somewhere deep in the quiet, there was a hum. Faint, barely more than a vibration, but it was there. She paused, frowning. Marcus came up behind her. "You feel that?" He tilted his head. "Like a note, a low one. Like the house is singing." "Maybe it's the HVA," she offered, already dismissing it. Maybe it was. By nightfall, the house was mostly unpacked. Marcus grilled steaks on the patio, while Olivia laid out the blue ceramic plates she'd been saving for a Sunday like this. The kids were already choosing bedrooms and fighting about nothing. It felt good, normal. But later, after they toasted to new beginnings and sent the kids upstairs, Olivia stood alone in the master suite, brushing her teeth, and the sound came again. It wasn't just a hum. It had rhythm, depth. She set her toothbrush down and turned her head toward the wall. It wasn't coming from the walls, not exactly. More like within them, like the sound was being held. She topped the drywall softly with her knuckles, solid. Then again, a little harder. It sang back. That night, Olivia dreamed of hands, not just hands, praying hands, layered over one another. Calloused, dark-skinned, bleeding at the wrists, reaching from within the earth and clutching at the floorboards of her new home. Not angry, just desperate. She woke to the sound of Isaiah crying in the next room. She found him standing at his window, his Batman blanket balled in one fist. "What's wrong, baby?" he sniffed. "There's someone outside." She looked. Nothing but shadows and garden lights on a lawn so trimmed it looked fake. "Nobody's there, baby. It's just our new yard." Isaiah didn't move. "I heard them talking. You probably dreamed it." "No, they said something weird." She knelt beside him, heart a little heavier now. "What did they say?" He hesitated, as if searching for the words. "They said, 'Let the walls remember.'" Downstairs, Marcus stood in the kitchen in just his robe, pouring a glass of bourbon with the fridge door open. Olivia told him what Isaiah had said. He exhaled long through his nose. "We pay too much money to be hearing ghost stories." She crossed her arms. "He's not lying. He's a kid. Kids dream stuff, that's all. Let him settle in." But she didn't sleep that night. Not really. Because even as Marcus snored beside her, Olivia heard the hum again. this time loud enough to trace its direction. She followed it in her mind like a thread, behind the master closet, down the stairs, through the den, beneath the library. There was something inside this house, something that wanted to be remembered, and the walls were listening. Isaiah wasn't the only one hearing voices. By the third day, Nia heard them too. Only hers didn't come in the dark. They came in the sunlit corner of the upstairs hallway, just outside her new bedroom. She'd been listening to music, idly scrolling through her phone when her earbuds cut out. Just static. Then, "We are still here." She snatched the earbuds out like they were burning. The hallway was empty, still. But she could swear she saw something, the shimmer of a figure turning the corner just out of view. Long skirt, no feet, not a ghost exactly, but not fully gone either. She bolted downstairs. Olivia found her curled up on the couch, hoodie pulled over her head, hugging her knees. "Talk to me," she said gently, brushing a curl from her daughter's forehead. Anaya flinched. "Don't gaslight me." "I wouldn't. There's something in this house, Mom." Olivia felt her heart thud once, slow and deep, like a warning drum. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. I keep hearing stuff, seeing stuff. There was a lady. She looked at me like she knew me." "Knew you how?" "Like I was her kid." That same afternoon, Marcus heard it too. He was in the den, setting up the smart home system. A task he'd put off because, in his words, black men don't need houses that talk back. But the new farm had sent him a congratulatory gift. A sleek soundbar and speaker hub, voice-enabled and top of the line. The moment he connected it, the system spoke. Not in a robotic Alexa voice, not even the polished black male voice he'd selected in setup. This voice was old, female, southern, root deep. He said, "Don't forget who poured the foundation." Marcus dropped his phone. The screen blinked off. All the lights in the room dimmed. The hum swelled like a tide, rolling up through the soles of his feet. Then, just like that, it was gone. The screen rebooted. "Your smart system is now online," the default voice chirped. That night, Olivia went looking. She waited until the kids were asleep and Marcus was lost in SportsCenter reruns. Then she padded barefoot through the house, following the hum. No flashlight, just instinct. It led her to the study, not the public-facing one Marcus had turned into his Zoom-ready office with clean bookcases and fake greenery. This was the small study in the back, more like a sunroom, with heavy drapes and a single black iron vent in the floor. She knelt down and pressed her ear to the wood. The hum pulsed louder now, like it was under her skin. There was something beneath this room. She felt along the baseboards, flat palms. At the northeast corner, behind a built-in bookshelf, her fingers found it. A seam in the wall, just wide enough to slip a fingernail into. A hidden panel. She pulled. It creaked open, with the reluctant groan of something that had not been touched in decades. Behind it, a narrow crawl space. Dust choked the air. The smell was old sweat and cedar. Olivia hesitated, then crawled in. She found 3 things. A small cloth bundle, bound with twine and stained dark at one end. A child's shoe, hand-sewn, too small even for Isaiah. And a page, yellowed and torn, with words written in looping black script. "Let the house remember what the world is trying to erase. Let it hum with what they made us forget." Olivia sat there for a long time, legs folded under her, breath shaking. This wasn't just noise, it was memory. Buried. At breakfast, she laid the items on the kitchen table. Marcus recoiled. "You brought that in here?" Ania blinked. "That's the foot I saw in my room." Everyone stopped. "You saw it?" Olivia asked slowly. "He left. He walked out the closet. Just the foot. He didn't know where the rest of it was." Marcus stood. "Okay, that's it. We need to get this house saged, or exorcised, or something. No, Olivia said. Not yet. What do you mean, not yet? Olivia thought. I think this house isn't haunted. I think it's remembering. That night, Olivia sat cross-legged in the study, cloth bundle in her lap. She didn't know why she whispered the old words aloud. Let the house remember what the world is trying to erase. But when she did, the hum changed. It deepened, harmonized, and for the first time, she understood. The house wasn't cursed. It was alive, and it had been waiting for someone who could hear her voice, for someone who wouldn't run, for someone who would listen. Isaiah began talking to someone who wasn't there. It started the next morning. Olivia found him in the backyard, sitting cross-legged on the stone path near the herb garden, head tilted like he was listening. His little lips moved as if repeating a lesson. When she called to him, he didn't even flinch. She had to touch his shoulder. "Who were you talking to, baby?" He smiled like it was the most natural thing in the world. The lady in the white dress. Olivia crouched beside him. "What's her name?" He shrugged. She said names are for the living. Inside the house, the hum had grown stronger. It wasn't constant. It came in pulses now, like a heartbeat. At times, the air vibrated just enough to rattle picture frames or make the lights dim for a breath. The new appliances flickered, whispered static through smart speakers. Marcus ran a diagnostic on the electrical. "House is fine," he said. "Better than fine. Panels clean, voltage stable, no leaks. You know this thing about the wiring?" He sighed, weary. "Then what is it?" Olivia held up the page from the crawl space. "It's a record." Marcus rubbed his eyes. "A record of what, Liv?" "Of the house. Of what the land had seen. Of who had bled into its roots." And Nia's vision came 3 days later. She was in her room, lying across the bed listening to jazz, something she'd only recently started liking, because it reminded her of her grandfather's scratchy records, when the hum overtook the music. This time, it didn't just buzz in her ears. It took her. She blinked, and the room was gone. She stood in the same house, but it was smaller, dimmer. The walls were bare wood. Smoke from a wood-burning stove drifted through the air. Outside the window, trees stood where the manicured lawn now stretched. She turned and saw them, a man and woman, brown-skinned, sweat-soaked, with hands like cracked earth. The woman sang as she stirred something in a pot. The man carved symbols into the floor. Their eyes held sorrow, but also power. The woman looked up directly at Ania. "You came back," she whispered. Ania fell backward. She hit the bed hard, like waking from a dream. She gasped for air, sweat slicking her neck. She ran straight to her mother. "They were here, Mom, before us." Olivia looked into her daughter's wide, frightened eyes. "We know," she said softly. That night, they all gathered in the study. Even Marcus, especially Marcus. Olivia laid the bundle, the shoe, and the page on the floor. Isaiah sat in her lap, holding her hand. Ania watched the shadows. Marcus stood with his arms crossed. "I still don't know what y'all expect to find." "I don't know either," Olivia said. "But I know this house was built on something old, something real, and it wants us to remember." Ania stood. "I saw them, a family. This place was theirs." "Slaves?" Marcus asked quietly. Olivia shook her head. "I don't think so. Something older. Free folk. Root workers, maybe. Healers." Azia tugged Olivia's sleeve. "The lady said this house was the last place they were together. The family?" He nodded. "They were hunted, burned out, but one of them stayed behind." "Why?" Azia blinked. "To wait." Olivia didn't sleep that night. None of them did. The house pulsed with energy, soft but persistent, like a choir just behind the veil, warming up for a song that had waited too long to be sung. At 3:07 a.m., The lights in the hallway flickered. The bookshelf in the study creaked open by itself. And from the crawl space came the soft sound of humming. Not electricity, a voice. Olivia went in alone. The crawl space seemed larger this time, deeper, as if the house had grown around it. She crawled forward slowly, palms pressing into dust that felt like ash. And there, at the far end, the wall pulsed with warmth. She placed her hand on the wood and saw everything. A woman in a white dress standing over a grave, a child coughing into rags, a circle of hands linked in prayer beneath moonlight, a tree marked with blood. The wall whispered, "We are the ones who sang when they silenced us. We are the ones who stayed when they scattered us. We are the ones who built this with what they could not take." Olivia wept, not in fear, but in recognition. This was legacy. This was memory held in timber and stone. And now it was hers. She emerged at dawn, eyes red, mouth silent. Marcus met her in the hallway. "You okay?" "No," she whispered. "But I understand now." "Understand what?" She touched his chest. "This house is a sanctuary, but sanctuaries have to be kept." "What does that mean?" "It means we're not just owners, we're keepers." He stared at her for a long time, then nodded once. "Okay." By the end of the week, the neighborhood noticed. The Holloways didn't go to HOA meetings, didn't wave from the mailbox. Something about them had shifted, like they were living inside a different kind of time. The house itself began to take on an edge. Nothing obvious, just a subtle sense that it was listening. Then, the white couple from 2 doors down came knocking. "Just wanted to check in," the woman chirped. "Everything okay in the new place?" We noticed some flickering, lights, unusual hours. Olivia stood in the doorway, barefoot, in a house dress. "We're fine," she said flatly. The man tried to peer over her shoulder. "You sure? That house sat empty for a while. Bit of a reputation, to be honest." Olivia's smile didn't reach her eyes. "It's peaceful now." Later that night, Marcus stood on the porch drinking his bourbon neat, watching the wind roll over the grass like water. For the first time in years, he didn't feel anxious, didn't feel watched. In fact, he felt held, like the land itself had his back. Still, something tugged at him. When he closed his eyes, he saw fire. Not his own memories, the house's, a night long ago. Flames licking the siding, people in white hoods on horseback, a tree scorched down to the roots. He woke up in the rocking chair, sweating, and the hum was louder than ever. It happened the next day. Isaiah was in the backyard when he found the bones. He'd been digging for worms under the herb garden when his toy shovel scraped something hard. He called for his mother. Olivia knelt beside him, brushing away soil with her hands. It was a skull, small, human, child-sized, wrapped in faded blue cloth, buried with a necklace of wooden beads. She did not call the police. She called the house. She gathered the family in the study again. Ania read from the old page. Marcus held Isaiah close. Olivia lit a single white candle, the flame trembling like it knew a secret. I think, she said, this house was more than a home. Marcus nodded. A stop on the Underground Railroad? No, she said. A station for the spirit. A place where souls gathered after death. A crossing. Isaiah piped up. Like the conductor place on the train. Something like that, baby. Ania stared at the wall. So, what happens when it forgets? Olivia looked at her daughter. Then we have ghosts, wandering, waiting. Marcus rubbed his jaw. That would explain the dream I had. What dream? I was in the woods behind the house. There was a line of people, long, silent, dressed like they'd walked across centuries. And every time one of them reached the porch, they disappeared into the door. He looked up, but they weren't scared. They looked free. That night, the reckoning came. It started with the store. Rain slamming the roof, wind twisting the oaks into sobbing shapes. But the sky never split with lightning. It wasn't that kind of storm. It was a cleansing. The walls trembled, not in fear, but release. The hum crescendoed into a choir, low and sorrowful. In the hallways, every one of them saw. Isaiah saw the boy whose bones he'd found, whole again, running through a field of sunflowers, arms open wide. Ananias saw the woman in the white dress turn to her and smile, then dissolve into a soft burst of light. Marcus saw the tree no longer scorched, but blooming with blood-red flowers as big as fists. Olivia saw her own face reflected in the mirror of history, weeping and proud, standing among ancestors who had knelt in this very room and built something stronger than wood. And then it stopped. The wind hushed. The rain ceased. The lights glowed steady. And for the first time since they'd moved in, the hum was gone. No more whispers. No more pulsing. Just stillness. Peaceful. Sacred. Remembered. In the morning, Olivia opened every window. Let sunlight pour in like forgiveness. She buried the skull gently, with words she didn't know she remembered. Marcus laid stones over the soil in a perfect circle. Aeneas sketched symbols into the floor of the study with charcoal. Isaiah planted sweetgrass. They didn't call the news, didn't file a report. They just kept, because that's what the house had asked. That night, the Halloways sat together at the kitchen table. No phones, no distractions. Just a meal made with love. Do you think it's over? Aeneas asked. No, Olivia said. I think it's just settled. Isaiah yawned. Can I sleep in my own bed tonight? Yes, baby. Even if the lady comes back? If she does, Olivia smiled. You tell her we remember. Weeks passed. Spring bloomed bold and sudden over Sycamore Hill. Dogwoods blazing white, jasmine creeping along the fence. The Holloway's house settled into the land like it had always been there, like it had finally come home. And the quiet, it stayed. Not the kind of silence that feels heavy, haunted. No, this was the hush of a Sunday morning, of a well-kept secret, of ancestors watching with satisfied eyes. Isaiah stopped seeing the lady in the white dress, but sometimes, when he watered the herb garden, he'd leave a few drops on the soil and whisper, "That's for you." And if he listened just right, he'd hear laughter on the breeze. Not spooky, familiar, kind. Aeneas grew bold again. She painted her room in deep clay tones, added brass accents, brought in thrifted record players and stacks of dusty vinyl. She kept the sketch of the woman in the white dress taped above her desk. Sometimes, at night, when she listened to Nina or Coltrane, she'd feel a warmth along her shoulders. Not a touch, just presence. A reminder. She started writing poems. One ended with the line, "We don't live in haunted houses. We inherit memory palaces." Marcus fixed the old tree swing, out back. It had been nearly split in two by the storm, but he didn't cut it down. Instead, he reinforced the trunk with steel cabling, treated it with oils and prayers. The swing hung straight now. "I'm tired of letting things die just because they're scarred," he told Olivia. She kissed his cheek. "That's why I married you." Olivia started tending the study like a shrine. Every Friday, she lit a white candle and placed a small bowl of honey near the vent where the hum used to rise. She kept the bundle and shoe wrapped in linen, tucked in a cedar box. She called it the root chest. Told no one what was in it, only that it was meant to stay. Neighbors stopped asking questions. Some crossed the street when they walked by. But one woman, elderly, skin like cracked parchment, paused at the gate one afternoon. Olivia came out to meet her. The woman looked past her, into the house. "They gave it to the right people," she said softly. "We tried to keep it before. They burned us out." Olivia nodded. "It's safe now." The woman smiled. Good. Keep the floor fed. Speak their names. You'll be all right. And she walked on. One night in early summer, long after everyone else had gone to bed, Olivia stood in the kitchen, sipping warm tea. The windows were open. The air was thick with honeysuckle. And just for a second, just one, she heard it. The hum. Not loud, not insistent. Just a soft, satisfied vibration, like a sigh through the bones of the house. A note of contentment, of legacy. She smiled. Not everything needed to be explained. Some things just needed to be held. The next morning, Isaiah came running down the stairs. She said goodbye, he shouted. Who? Marcus asked, tying his tie. The lady. She said she's going now. Said we did it. Marcus looked at Olivia. She just nodded. They had done it. Not solved a mystery, not uncovered some curse. They'd listened, witnessed, rooted themselves into the story that had already been growing here. Long before granite countertops and Tesla chargers. Long before HOAs and hedge funds. They hadn't been haunted. They'd been chosen. And now, they were home.